some of the students to put together singing for us today. And so, Andrew, do you want to just explain what you guys did and maybe just introduce the hymn and everything?
Yeah, totally. So for some of us, singing has been possibly one of the highlights of being together at Sattler. And so being separated like this has been like, oh, how do we still sing together? So a few of us got together, did individual recordings of a song, and then shout out to Friedrich, who compiled them all into one video. So you'll see it in a minute. This is the hymn Unto the Hills. It's 401 in the hymns of the church. We've probably sung it at tea time sometime or other. It's essentially a reflection on Psalm 121. And so it goes through themes of God's protection. One of the key words in that psalm is the word for like preserve. And so this song talks a lot about how God preserves us through difficult times. At the beginning, it gives the idea of lifting our longing eyes to the hills, getting our help from the Lord. And so I think it's an encouraging hymn for us going through this time of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of disruption, that God's gonna take care of us.
Amen.
Unto the hills around you I lift up my longing eyes. Oh, whence for me shall my salvation come? From whence arise? From God the Lord doth come my certain aid. From God the Lord, who heaven and earth hath made. He will not suffer that thy foot be moved. Safe shalt thou be. No careless slumber shall his eyelids close. Who keepeth thee? Behold, he sleepeth not, he slumbereth there. Who keepeth Israel in his holy care? From every evil shall he keep thy soul, from every sin. Jehovah shall preserve thy going out, thy coming in. Above thee watching, him whom we adore, shall keep thee henceforth, yea, forevermore.
Just moving forward, I have the special privilege to introduce a man that's near and dear to Sattler's heart today. His name is Dr. Harry Argo. Harry went to West Point for college, which is the military academy for the Army, for those who are not familiar, and came into the teachings of Christ later. His life story is amazing, and he was actually here Sattler's first year, and we miss him dearly, and he's been so inspirational. So I just want to pass the pearl over to Brother Harry and just thank him all for a special guest presentation, cameo, whatever we want to call it today.
Okay, am I on? Okay. All right, here we are, new situation. Just do it. You know the slogan, just do it. And just to evaluate a little bit of that statement, what does that just do it mean? It means be impulsive, situation, do it. I want to take a couple examples of history of a little bit of impulsiveness. We have this guy named Napoleon. Napoleon defeated everybody out there in the mainland of Europe. Let's take Russia. No bad decision. Hitler did the same thing. Just defeated everybody. We already defeated the Russian army. Take Moscow. which Winston Churchill said, yes, we won the war now. Another military, of course, West Point guy, situation, Robert E. Lee defeated the North at the Battle of Manassas, first Battle of Manassas. After the Battle of Manassas, the Northern Army ceased to exist. It actually dissipated and was gone. But Robert E. Lee didn't take Washington. For the rest of the war, he said, I could have walked in and taken Washington. The war would have been over. Lack of knowledge, maybe lack of impulsiveness. Kodak film in 1975 was the premier digital camera, had the premier digital camera technology. Sat on it and went out of business in 2012. M&M's was offered a role in a movie called E.T. If they would just let E.T., the movie, use their M&M's, they said no. E.T., the movie, turned over to Reese's Pieces, put it in the movie, and in that year, 65% increase. Okay. The point is, these people had new situations in front of them and made bad decisions. Okay? We now are in a situation of uncertainty. Now, I just finished reading a book, long overdue, called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Cialdini. It's an old book written in the 80s and then updated. I read it because I'm reading his next book next, and I'll read his old book. And the synopsis of the book is that when people get into situations of uncertainty, they're incredibly vulnerable to making bad decisions, and people that come in and influence them for their own purposes. And at the end of each chapter, it's, okay, how do you say no to influence, especially when you're uncertain? Okay, so how do you negotiate? Here we are. For you young people, this may be one of those defining moments in time. A 9/11, a Pearl Harbor, who knows? We don't know exactly what's happening. But one thing we know, uncertainty everywhere. Health, life, the economy. I mean, look what's happening to the entertainment industry, the sports industry, service industry, education. What's going to happen? Church, professional Christianity. What are they going to do? The political landscape, and I can go on and on. Of course, down to the spiritual dimension. How do we do faith now in this new and changing world? I guess the question for us is, how do we deal with uncertainty? Now, Sattler's verse, I'll just read the verse here as I lead into the next thought here. For God has not given us a spirit of fear. The country's in fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And I want to touch real quick on the sound mind part of it. Andrew Carnegie, literally last century and into the beginning of, or 2 centuries ago and into the beginning of the 1900s, had a great influence, great success, but then became a philanthropist and a teacher of businessmen and trying to get them focused. And he had a great motto. His life motto was first honesty, second industry, third concentration. Develop a mindset. And he said, men who have succeeded in his study of men are men who have chosen one issue and stuck to it. So the point I want to bring up in this time where we're all scattered now and have, in a sense, opportunity to do some rethinking, reassessing in the middle of this uncertain times. What's the future? Is I am encouraging us to all look at or develop our own personal mission statement. A mission statement which is that guide and that guard to impulsive or to being swayed, being moved different directions. It is not a situational statement. It is an internal statement about my mission, what I believe God has told me to do based on my gifts and so on, but it's a consistent mindset that doesn't change with the times. We must think through, what is that? We have to have a mindset, a proactive mindset, not a reactive mindset. The reactive mindset, which is what we're seeing now in our culture, we've been changing our culture to be reactive to the media, reactive to popular culture, is we are given to the course of action that's handed to us. We given it, we do it. Country tells us to do this, we do it. We're shaped by our circumstances, and unfortunately, we end up benefiting the wrong people. That's the dangerous. However, a proactive mindset is one who searches what's going on, discovers the reality of what's going on here, improvises and adopts new courses of action, but they don't change the mission. The mission stays the same. When a new situation comes, they don't depend on the external limits that culture is pushing on us or the situation. The limits and the forces that are there, they depend on the internal limits and the internal guides of what I'm supposed to be doing. The situation does not change what to do. It changes how to do it. Whatever this mission I have is. Napoleon Hill, who was a student of Dale Carnegie, and he spent his life studying successful people and wrote a lot about it. Let me get the quote here. Had a statement, a really good statement. My wife has it written down in different places. Every adversity, challenge, defeat, or failure carries with it a seed of equal or greater opportunity. All right? Here we are. Massive change. Lifetime of 2019 and 2021. Two different worlds, possibly. Two different worlds we're living in. How do we negotiate that? Well, first of all, reassess your mission. What's your mission? Internalize it and let it guide you. Now, Julie and I, I'm just at an example of this. Over the last year, Julie and I have really been pulled into and poured ourselves into international missions. We had scores of internationals at our house all summer long last year. The students that come here, international college students that come to Virginia Beach, we found out how to get them in our house. We were doing sort of like Young Life, interactive games, and then a gospel preaching from mainly Middle East, China, even Russia, all over the place coming there. We got involved in a local university. We've been having students over pretty much weekly to our house, going to events on Friday nights. It's called it's a dinner. Overloaded. We went to Germany last year to work with Iranian refugees in Dresden. Fantastic. Basically, you got an open invitation to come back. Coronavirus. Everything stopped. Well, what do we do? Well, over the last year, we have really refocused our mission. Or refocused on the mission God's given us. Evangelize the lost. Disciple believers. Incorporate them into bodies. That's what our life is. It's like we understand now what we're supposed to do. New situation? Oh no, does that mean stop? No way. It means redirect, figure it out. What are we doing next? Well, we looked. We saw the fear in our neighbors. We saw the fear in our students, our international students, our Regent students. I have those. Redirect. Use the technology we have. Disciple. Continue the discipleship. If anything, we've turned up our discipleship. I'm meeting with students. Sunday is discipleship day. We start in the morning and we're meeting with students all day, internationals and locals and our region students, our Old Dominion students. I have books I can show you we're going through with them. Second is, we started going to our neighbors and knocking on the door. Do you have one of the cards?
Yeah, it's not taped together.
It's not taped. Julie put together a card, Psalm 91. Okay, we bound it. We're knocking on doors. It's it's unbelievable. We go, we're your neighbors. How are you doing in this situation? How can we help you? 100%. Wow. Even the ones that are afraid to open the door, talk to us through the glass. Sometimes they wouldn't let us go. They kept talking. We put a little letter on the back of the card explaining, yes, the physical is important, but the spiritual. Here we are. What do you need? Open arms. We've gone through, we live in part-time in 2 neighborhoods. Last night we were out, 100%. Welcomed this. Wanted the Psalm 1. Thank you. We tell them, we're praying for you. So the question I have for you students, you faculty, you administrators, you parents, wives, what is that internal, unmovable mission that God has given you? Yes, it adjusts over time, but is it this tool that says change, situation, no limits, opportunity? What are the opportunities? I would say I am more excited about winning neighbors now than I've ever been. Now it's our neighborhood. We have a Lake James neighborhood. It's the battle for Lake James. Here we go. Here's the battle. We're going to take it. The doors are open. Right now, because of this virus, we have unprecedented opportunity. You young people, this may be the greatest opportunity to reach people in your lives. Now, take it. Now, I say, with that background, just do it. Amen?